Hello, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride, and today we're looking at a second submission by Joan of Horse Legend. Now, Joan is one of our associate trainers, and I've been teaching her how to work in Piaffe, and she's doing a really great job. The last clinic I gave her, I showed her these simple techniques, and you can see she already has this horse Piaffing quite nicely. The beginnings, and notice how it begins behind a correct Piaffe, and see how it lifts the diagonal pairs. Once again, that's a correct Piaffe, which can only be taught if the horse has been ridden correctly, that is not held against your hands. So I wanted to show you how easy that is. Now, if you are a rider who has been holding your horse against your hands the whole time you ride, then when you try to do work like this, the horse is going to simply bolt right out of your hands, and you're not going to be able to do it, which is why so many people have gone to this method today of wrapping horses in the front legs to try to teach Piaffe, which is just wrong thinking. Once again, it's backwards riding. So Joan has done a really great job here of getting this horse started in Piaffe, and what she got there, you could even see him beginning to lower his hindquarters a little bit. And we begin to put a little more spring into the horse, so to speak. It's really helpful. So she's done a great job with that. So Legend, we can see here today, it's been, I think, since last year that we saw this horse. But what a huge improvement. This horse was extremely hollow and moved extremely stiffly. And now he's stretching down quite nicely. If you go back and look at the previous video of this horse, you'll see he wasn't quite stretching all the way there. Was beginning to get active, but not quite enough. But now we're seeing really a nice complete stretch and a much more active walk and trot and canter quite nicely over his back as well. So a huge improvement that we've seen in this horse in a short period of time. You know, and getting back to that little bit about the Piaffe there, like when is it okay to start a horse in Piaffe? And it's actually okay as soon as they're working over their backs and have accepted the contact with the bit in a light frame. That is, that not pulling on the reins with no backwards tension on the reins. Once again, that being the most important thing. So she got this horse to that point, and see, look how easy it was to begin the Piaffe. Now, is it the kind of Piaffe that's going to be in a Grand Prix? No, but it never is in the beginning. Really good leg yield here, really good maintenance of the rhythm. So once again, and of course you could see how relaxed the horse was in that Piaffe work, that the horse never got excited, and that's the whole thing. And, I usually bring horses to Piaffe over quite a period of time. Of course, first working them in hand, and then just bringing them over to the rail and just getting them tapping on their hindquarters a little bit, because all you're looking for at first is just to get the idea that they're supposed to do something, that is to activate their body in some way. Then it's just a matter of over time rewarding them as soon as you see that diagonal pair, as you saw this horse doing. A nice leg yield. The horse could be stepping through a little more on those leg yields, but once again, compared to what we saw in the previous video of this horse, this is much better. So here could be a little more swinging, and it is here. So once you get the horse to stretch a little deeper, you see how much more active the hind end is. Now, of course, this horse, looking at it, has quite a ways to go in the sense that it's still quite hollow behind the saddle. So once again, these are the things that we just look at. So we know with a horse like this, we'd never want to do too much sitting trot. Now, Joan, fortunately, is very light, and that's the other thing about doing that Piaffe work. Joan is very tall, so I'm not sure exactly how tall, but quite tall. So once again, that is work that if you are a very short person, you'd never want to try, either work in hand or especially a work like Piaffe, unless you have a certain height above the horse. It could just be really easy to get yourself stepped on, or once again, you need to be at least well above the horse's withers to try this kind of work, the Piaffe work, that is. And once again, see how he comes back to the rail there, how much more active that becomes. That's really good. When we saw this horse in the last video, if you go back and see it, I mean, it really walks like it's stuck in mud. I mean, the beginnings of things are starting to happen as she gets the stretch, but now we're seeing a very big difference. See how he's pulled up there through his abdominal wall. But once again, when we see this horse in silhouette, we can still see how there's a hole behind the saddle there. Now, that's better than it was. The first time I saw this horse, he looked nearly swayback. So he's come a long way since then. Good shoulder in here. Once again, keeping the neck long. Always remembering, we see so many people doing these exercises, and they're doing them, and the more they do it, the shorter the horse becomes. Well, once again, you should be using the shoulder in to help you mold and shape the horse and give in the neck. Because what happens in the shoulder in when it's done correctly, if the horse keeps stepping, and only if the horse keeps stepping in a long step, that is its most active step under the body, then it pushes up through the back whenever we do a leg yield or shoulder in. So same thing here, as we said before about this direction, just could be a little more swing through, and you can see how that's a little difficult for him. He still kind of looks a little stuck in mud when we try to do that on this side. But once again, a big improvement of what we saw before. Good rhythm in the walk there. Gets a little high-headed, and once again, you can see every time he does that how it affects the body behind. Once again, look, as soon as he drops that neck back out and forward again, all of a sudden the back end starts to move. So that's always what we're doing. We're evaluating as we're riding, and of course the rhythm is what tells us so much about that. If we feel the rhythm or the gait shorten, then we know we have to let the horse back out in the neck again, as she did there, and what a beautiful shoulder in that was for this level of horse. It kept the neck all the way down there, and we're able to keep a good steady rhythm. A good transition there in that she didn't make any attempt to try to hold the horse in the frame. Always remembering here, when a horse is at this level, we don't try to make the transition perfect, because the horse isn't perfect in the two gaits. Once again, what you'll see is when you perfect your walk and you perfect your trot, all of a sudden the transition between the walk and trot will just be there. That is, the horse won't lift its head and he'll go right from one to the other. But we never want to get hung up on that. We see so many riders and horses frustrating themselves, trying to make perfect transitions on horses that really can't do anything right. And once the horse's back is dropped, it's certainly never going to make a good transition. So you must just move on to what the horse can do correctly and not get hung up on that minutia stuff. Really starting to get in a good stretch there, and she gets a little better crossover. It's always a little difficult, seems, this horse in this direction. And of course, we want the neck longer. And once again, as it goes down, once again, look how much better the back end looks. Now, while we're still not seeing a lot of thrust here with this horse yet, but we're seeing a pretty good engagement and starting to swing under the body. So it won't be long before we'll start to see some lifting. That is, the horse beginning to lift the forehand off the ground by virtue of the thrust of the back legs. That is, the degree to which they push off the ground. Always remembering that's what we're looking for in dressage. We're not looking for a horse that lifts its legs up. We're looking for a horse that pushes off the ground with the hind end and lifts the whole body. Once again, that's what real collection is. As the horse begins to lower those three joints of the hind leg, then we have real collection. And we get more thrust. Good stretch here. So once again, this is all looking much, much improved, and I feel like this horse is really over the hump now, in the sense that you're getting this horse over its back most of the time. Has its little moments here and there where it kind of lifts its head up a little bit, but once again, compared to what we saw before, this is a huge improvement. Once again, you can see there's the head comes up before that corner, how the horse kind of drops out behind. But as soon as you get there, look how much more swinging it is. That's exactly what we're looking for. So once again, it's every day finding that optimal trot for your horse each and every day. The position of the frame that allows it to swing the deepest under the body in the slowest step. Once again, that's efficiency of movement. Pretty good shoulder in there. It started to slow a little bit, but it actually improved towards the corner. And once again, look how much better it is if you come back into that stretch and how much more active. And once again, remember when we talk about rhythm, we're not talking about that a horse can go around a rail and seemingly not change speed, but look like its wheels are falling off, so to speak. That's not what we talk about. When we talk about rhythm, we're talking about the rhythm between the hind leg and the front leg, that they swing on those diagonal pairs, which once again can never happen unless the horse is working over its back. The rhythm is about the coordination between the front end and the back end. Good corrections there. Now you can see that horse came up a little bit and she just sent him forward. So all the right things are really starting to happen with this horse, that she can put her leg on and send the horse forward into the contact, and all of a sudden the horse improves. It comes back over its back. And if we can't really get that effect, and that's really, a lot of people use the term half halt, which you all will notice I never use, because it makes people think it's something we do by slowing down. But a real rebalancing the horse, which is what a half halt is supposed to mean, to balance the horse, can only happen by sending the hind end deeper into the body. Beautiful stretch there. So in other words, we must be sure that we're not just slowing down and confusing ourselves by thinking something is balanced just because it's going slowly. Once again, we see so much better light up at the top line now of this horse. That's really good there. And once again, we see how much better it looks as the horse stretches down. Now, this is a horse that had a lot of problems when Joan started it, and she's really brought it a long way. It took a lot of patience to get this horse to where she's now beginning to get it. I highly recommend, if any of you are in the Cleveland area, which is where Joan is, and I highly recommend you drop in and see her. I'm sure she'd be happy to have you spend the day with her training horses. She has a lot of nice horses and a lot of lovely people that she works with there. And this is where we give our clinics there. So if anybody comes and joins us at the clinic, it'll be Joan's mother, Cindy, who does a great job of putting on the clinics there. So it's really getting great today. You know, we're developing these associate trainers almost everywhere we go now, you know, have a good idea. And once again, that's the whole thing. You know, the most important thing you'll ever learn is just that ability to get a horse when a horse is over its back and when it is not. Once you can understand that, really the rest of it is pretty easy, because that's what takes the fight out of dressage, and there shouldn't be any fight in dressage. Dressage is about getting the horse to agree with what we want to do, and us both enjoying it, not just us enjoying it. Once again, if you've all heard me say many times, the immortal words of Bill Steinkraus, if you can't get the horse to like it, it's never going to be very good. Good leg yield there. Once again, in all these leg yields and lateral work, this horse can begin to step a little deeper under the body. But I think for right now, you're getting about the best you can. And once again, this canter compared to the last time I saw the canter is hugely improved. And once again, this canter is good enough that you can see the horse is staying pretty nicely over its back. It's not disuniting anywhere, as it tries to there a little bit. And once again, the same thing. She sends it forward. She gives it a half forward. That's really what it should be called. That you send the horse a little deeper into the body to rebalance the horse, so you don't have to slow down. Nicely done. And once again, you see how she didn't interfere with the horse in that downwards transition. She just let it happen. Was it perfect? No, but the horse isn't perfectly stabilized in the two gaits before it. But once again, it was pretty good. Really nice swing in this trot. This is so much improved over the last time I saw this horse. Now this horse is really, its stride looks, you know, twice the size that it was the last time in the last video. Once again, I suggested everyone, you know, to train your eyes as I talk about these things, to go back and look for yourself. Now we're going to be doing a lot of split screen work and things like that in the video series that we'll be having coming out in a couple of months. But that's one of the best things to do, is just compare, and that's really why we've done these videos, you know, to give you all an idea of what it takes and to have an eye for a horse changing over time, so that you can begin to play, you can begin to be chess players rather than checker players. You know, you want to be like a chess player. You want to be thinking years ahead in your training a horse. What's this horse going to look like 2 years from now if I do what I do now? Not what I can make it look like today. Because as we all know, the only real dramatic change you can make in any horse in a day is to get them over their back. In other words, a horse that's been hollowed, to get them to stretch into the contact and begin to use the right set of muscles. Once again, here in silhouette, we can see how that horse still has quite a dip behind the saddle. But once again, it's much improved over what we've seen in the past. And now everything is happening. The horse is over its back in everything that you're doing. So once you can achieve that, then everything just starts to go really fast. You start to see a huge change in the horse's backs in a very short period of time. But once again, some of these older horses, you know, once again, I have to remind all of you who are doing rehab projects, you know, just like rehabbing a person who's been in a bad accident or something, you know, it's not like the wounds just heal and now everything works. You know, you really have to do physical rehab, and that's going to add to the time that it takes you to train a horse that is actually in need of physical rehab, not just training. Once again, good canter here. good enough over his back to be able to do it to advantage. So that's what you want to think, you know. So everything, if the horse is hollow, you're basically just wearing your horse out no matter what you're doing. Really good canter there. Staying nicely over his back throughout all of that. Once again, had a couple of moments and you just sent the horse forward. But notice once again how she's never just stopping the horse up. That's the biggest problem I see with people so-called riding dressage today, is they're just riding with the brakes on all of the time. Then they wonder why we see so many horses that just check out. I mean, so many of my students are riding lovely expensive horses that, you know, other people ruined, you know, and then just gave up on because they thought it was the problem of the horse. And in fact, it was the problem of the training. It's always the problem of the training. Horses are innocent in all of this, and once again, as I hope you're all seeing here, that, you know, horses that you would have never thought until you gain this knowledge would have ever been able to be changed. So for instance, a sway back whose back can be brought all the way back up. Once you really understand this, you can do it on any horse. So once again, this is Joan, our associate trainer in Ohio, doing a wonderful job on Legend. We look forward to being there this spring again. Really great walk here. Once again, huge improvement over what we saw. How nice and active the back leg is. Now this is a horse with a fairly straight back leg, and once again, those are the things that we have to kind of take into consideration. You know, the straighter a horse is, the more it actually needs dressage. That is, the straighter behind. Once again, we see in silhouette there, the little dip in the back. But once again, hugely improved over the first time I saw this horse, and well improved over even the last video. Great job. This is Will Faerber from Art to Ride with one of our associate trainers, Joan in Cleveland.